Hi, everyone. It's Ken Rakowski. I'm in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, which doesn't mean I'm not going to be doing these interviews because I want to learn about these people as much as you do. And what we do is we hold over these incredible guests from Saturday and we spend deeper time with them, learning about what they do, more of their mindset, and what we can take away from their expertise. I'm really excited today because if I remember correctly, Glenn, you're one of those unique individuals that has done everything. And one thing for sure is you've been on the football field more than most, haven't you?
I have, yeah. 12 years in the NFL and along with 4 in college. And that was a stage of my life. That's over. So, but yeah, I've done, like you said, I've done everything. Well, if I haven't done it, I'm certainly going to try to do it at some point in my life.
Well, I'm looking at your wall. Your wall definitely is a testament to the NFL. Why don't you explain your passion to the whole idea of football?
Well, I have a passion for football because of what it teaches. And I think any teacher has a passion for what they teach. And to me, I didn't play football in high school. I didn't play till I was 20 years old. So the lessons I learned came later in life and why they were so important to me. And, I learned some great lessons growing up. I learned great lessons not playing football as well. But what football taught me was structure and process and preparation, a passion. It taught me it taught me give of myself for the greater good, because on the football field they're the only stars are the guy with the ball in their hand at that moment.
Mhm.
And great wide receivers, Hall of Fame wide receivers, might touch the ball 8 or 10 times a game total out of 80
Wow.
plays they have an offense. But those other plays that no one notices except the coaching staff and the other players, they're doing exactly what they're told to do in the structure of the offense, knowing if all goes according to plan, I'll never get the ball here. But I make it look like I've got to get the ball. And offensive linemen toil in obscurity, and defensive linemen do the same. And it just teaches of yourself. You have a team, that you have a job within your team, and that job is sacrosanct. It's the most important thing you can do. You can't do anybody else's job. You can't care what other people think. You can only do your job. And if everybody else does their job, great things happen.
You're saying it's the ultimate team sport then?
Absolutely, it is. There's no other sport like it where everything that you want to get out of the sport hinges not only on what you put into it, but everybody else on your team putting into it. There is no halfway in football. You can't be done.
So as you then have moved beyond, let me just make sure everyone understands. You started with the Buffalo Bills, if I remember first, and that was like
Well, I like to say
19.
I started with the Golden West Rustlers in junior college. That's
Oh,
that's where I
got
really
it.
started.
Okay, got it. And then you went to that was Arizona. Was it Arizona State or was it where
No,
was that?
University of Arizona.
Well, I'm
That's
sorry.
our rival.
Oh,
That's the school up north. We're the better
that's
one down south.
sacrosanct.
Yes, I started with the Buffalo Bills for 7 years, then on to the Chiefs for 3, and the Giants my last couple in the league.
Yeah, actually, about a year and a half with the Giants, right?
Well, yes, 2 football seasons.
Got it. And I'm wondering how much damage do you have from all this? Physical, not emotional, physical.
Okay, and it's interesting. One of an ex-player of mine asked me the same question, and I had to go through it. Most of my toes have been broken. I'm going to start at my toes. I've had high ankle sprains on one of my ankles. I've had my right ankle replaced 8 weeks ago. I broke my right fibula. I had 14 surgery on my left knee, along with now a knee replacement. I had 8 surgeries or so on my right knee. I had a sports hernia, which involved 4 different abdominal incisions and groin fascia releases. I have spondy in my back, which means the tailbone is fractured in so many places it looks like a web of fractures. I have a scoliosis, which is more hereditary, but then I have stenosis in every single joint up the spine, including most of my vertebrae have been fractured. I,
Wow.
I've also had both AC joints separated. I've broken at least 5 ribs. I've broken every one of my fingers multiple times and dislocated them. And you can always tell when you look at these things how battered they are. I have had 2 elbow surgeries where I broke the capsule and snapped the bicep tendon and broke the tip of the bone off. I've had I just 7 days ago I had a 3-level spinal fusion where they went in through the neck. You can see the big scar right here where I just got that done. And I've had multiple concussions, broken nose, and other things. So a lot of injuries, a lot of scarring, but all great memories. That's just, you have to love it.
Well, yeah, you can't forget those, but those are pretty serious stuff you got. So you're turning double nickel this year. This is your 55th birthday this year, right?
Yes,
I'm the
thanks for
same, by the way.
reminding me.
Yeah, well, we're both 1966 guys. Yeah, right.
There you go.
I'm with you on that. Are you walking like a 55-year-old, 54-year-old, or are you walking like a 75-year-old?
I walk like a 25-year-old. I now that my ankle's feeling better, I go, man. I still surf every chance I get. I'm getting back into hiking now that the ankle's feeling good. I'm a fast walker. I get up and I move and I go. You have to. Life, what is it? A body at rest stays at rest. I'm not staying at rest. That's never going to happen to me.
I say that at our age, we have to fight double hard to push age back because age is our constant enemy no matter what.
That's right. Well, none of us are getting out of this thing alive, right? So I'm going to make the most of the time I have here, and I'm not going to let physical limitation hold me back. Pain reminds me that I'm alive. I like it. It gives me great memories of the times I had, but it won't stop me from doing things. That's for sure.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Two have graduated college right now and are working in their professions, and 2 have just become freshmen in college. Very proud of all 4 of them. My wife has done an amazing job raising them. I've been gone a lot, obviously, and try to be as hands-on as I can. And that's why I didn't go into coaching immediately. I wanted to stay away and be there for my children. I didn't want to be an absentee guy. And I'm very proud of their academic success. All 4 got both academic and athletic scholarships in D1 sports of some sort. So, and they've all thrived, either post or still while they're in school. So I'm very,
Are
very
they
proud of what I'm hopeful they're proud of themselves more importantly.
football?
No, my youngest son, he's a football player at Colgate. His twin sister is a volleyball player and engineering academic scholarship at Western. My oldest daughter played soccer at New Mexico, and my other daughter played soccer at Oklahoma.
Wow, that's awesome. You got a lot of sporting events you have to go to as a parent with you, huh?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of my free time sitting at soccer fields and baseball parks. That's for sure.
I have a kid that's going to be a chef, so I have a different type of experience than you.
That is thumbs up to me. That's the best thing you can get. Make me something delicious today.
I think at your prime you were over 300 pounds, right? 320 or something like that.
Yeah, I got up as high as almost 340 at one point. I put on muscle mass very easily when I lift. So I always have this battle between staying lighter and gaining weight. Even now to this day, if I've lost some weight now simply because I can't lift until I'm done with this neck and this ankle thing. But the minute I start lifting hard, if I don't watch my intake of calories, I can start packing on muscle and mass very simple, very, very easily.
So hey, I'm going to try to do this without going political. Let's try to go in this direction. I feel that this younger generation, and not just in the United States, but around the world, has taken this entitled mentality where they feel like success might be owed to them or something might be owed to them. And obviously you worked your tail off to get your success. How do you work with a younger generation that might be heading in the wrong direction?
Well, I think one of the things as a coach and as a mentor, we have to understand is kids are not different today than they were when we were younger. We've failed them as adults. We have made things too easy for them. Too many parents are bulldozer parents. They're not helicopter parents. They bulldoze. They get all obstacles out of their path. They don't let kids struggle and strive and do the things they have to do. They're always looking for little Johnny or little Susie to have the best way to get there. And then you compound that with social media. And social media has made every kid, regardless if they're into athletics or if they're into fashion, they believe they can be an influencer and they believe that they should be famous right now because they see people become famous overnight. But in reality, they don't see all that work that goes into being famous. And that entitlement comes from, one, their parents have bulldozed the path for them. They haven't had to work. And 2, they see instant success in social media and they think they should have it. We have a saying in football, when you recruit a player and you get him on campus, now you actually have to de-recruit that player because you've spent the last year recruiting this guy and telling him how great he is. He's the best thing ever. And of course, your own fans of your college are tweeting this kid constantly, telling him how great he is. His friends, his people all over the country, all these different schools that are recruiting are telling him how great he is. And he gets there and he's not great. He wants to transfer. He made a mistake. It's not the school. The school is not, it's not that he wasn't good enough. It's the school had the problem. And parents fall into that trap with their kids all the time. And you have to de-recruit these kids the minute you get them on campus. So their real or their expectations of what they're going to get when they get there and how good they're going to be is so far from reality that they have a giant struggle. They've never had to struggle in their life. No one's ever made them work for anything. And so it's not the kids that have changed, it's us as parents, us as adults.
Glenn, since we're in the same age group, literally you're a month older than me, excuse me, 8 days older than me. Our problem was when we were that age was Atari. You know, that was our biggest enemy. By the way, the creator of Atari is part of our group, Nolan Bushnell. But that was our problem, was things like video games that took us away from reality. And it was not plugged into an internet where there was 20 coders at the same time trying to convince us to watch more ads. And we weren't seen as a product when we were a kid. It was easier. Now kids have so many things that are bombarding them, different messages. You mentioned social media, games, their mobile devices, the idea of being liked. It's a different world. So us as parents, we're not equipped to understand that other than taking those things away. So how do we defend against this?
You know, I think a big part of it, I think that's a great point, because one thing we notice when we're dealing with either the college kids I deal with, or even when I was in that last pro league helping out, they are so inundated with information all the time. Think how tired we as adults get of the 24-hour news cycle. Right. And we still get caught up where we wake up and we're like, oh, nothing's changed. What happened? I went to sleep and I get the same news. What's going on? We become part of that dopamine cycle where we want the next thing all the time.
Right.
They are not equipped at all. So as parents, it's our best thing, maybe not to take away, but to guide and to show them that playing a real sport outside with their friends is way more fun and way more expressive than doing it on TV, sitting in your room. And that's us as parents to not to restrict, but to open their eyes to what can actually be better than these things they're seeing.
I was young. My cousin played for the Dallas Cowboys, and I got to spend time with Coach Landry back then. Now I don't remember a lot because I was young, but he was a kind guy. But people respected him like crazy. By the way, Coach Landry was with the Dallas Cowboys. The people that are watching right now, he earned that respect. Everyone said Landry was like Mike Ditka and all these coaches back then. They earned their respect because they were in it. They were in not just the game, but in their lives. And I'm wondering, what can we learn from them being coaches when it comes to us coaching other people and mentoring other people? How can we coach and be in other people's lives?
Well, you know, I think one of the things is great coaches learn from every coach they've ever had. I don't think anybody can just come out and say, I'm an original coach. But if you learn from everybody, you can have an original style of how you coach that's authentic. And kids see through BS, really, their BS meter's great because they have been inundated with so much information over time. They know what's real and what's not. And some kids will fall for the flash, but most kids are looking for a deeper connection with their coaches or with their mentors or with their teachers. And I think what we can do is we can be our real self with them. We can care about them as people more importantly than as players. My coach at the University of Arizona used to say, coach them hard, but love them harder. He said, the game of football is not complicated. People are complicated. So if we do these things and they trust us, we're going to go great places. And we did. We had great success for many years under that coach. I think if you're authentic and you worry about them and worry about their family and do not talk football unless it's on the field or in the meeting room, every time else you see them, it could never be football oriented. And I think back to my coach and most of my coaches, and there was never talk of football outside that field ever. I'd see them places, they'd ask, hey, how's class going? Or how's that girlfriend of yours? How's mom and dad? That resonates with young people much more than, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this play you messed up. Well, wait a minute, you had me on the field, you had me in meetings, go away. So I think it resonates when they actually care, when a coach wants to connect with you on a much deeper level of understanding than simply, you're my player, I'm your coach.
All right, I'm perplexed on something. So I'm on your LinkedIn right now, and I noticed that you are one of those guys that pay for LinkedIn. You have the premium
The
version,
gold, yes.
the gold. Why is it necessary for you to have that? You're in the educational space. You're a coach in that space. Why is it necessary?
Well, I'm also a fundraiser for the University of Arizona. And
Ah,
so as in my day job is I work at the foundation and I connect with our alumni and our donors. And that gives me a way of connecting and understanding a little deeper with people and finding out who they are and finding out who's looking at me and why, and using that data to then mine further of people that I might be able to contact that have
got it.
some sort of passion for the university that, we might not know. My job is really, I'm a different type of fundraiser. I don't go, uh, I kind of have a harder job in many ways because most people go after, they're introduced to donors, they cultivate, and if the donor wants to give, they give. I try to find people we don't know about, people that have that passion for our university that we just don't know are out there. And it's like any university, you have a lot of people that love your university that probably didn't go to your university, but they love it for one reason or another. They love the football team, the basketball team, your hospital on campus saved their mom or dad's life. Those things to develop that passion, and we don't know it. So it's my job to go find those people we don't know about.
Yeah, there's a very interesting connection with the university structure when it comes to what's happened. Let's just say pre-2020. Now that we've gone, most at least of the world went into lockdown. Where I'm at, there's no lockdown right now. It's kind of weird. I mean, I go to the gym and the gym's packed. I know that it's busy by you too in Arizona, but
Yep.
California is locked down and other places are. How does that educational structure look moving forward if Zoom has become that part of distance learning where kids aren't in a university structure? It's got to be super hard for you to sell a college right now or a university right now when it's not business as usual.
We've been blessed, and we've actually had a record-setting first part of the year. People are understanding the challenges we're facing, and donors are giving, and they're really helping out. But I think I'm of the belief, and this is not good for my business model as a fundraiser, but that's not what I really am in life. I think the college model has to change. I think it's a bubble that has to change. We cannot keep raising prices on kids for an education that does not prepare them for the next life. We have to find a way to make college a valuable experience that is not so expensive that you can't get the same experience by simply studying the right books and going on the right meetings and doing all the free stuff you could do online. And I think this has only made a hyper focus on the fact that colleges is a bubble. Colleges are a bubble, pardon me, or college is a bubble that is going to have some shrinkage. It really does. We have to figure out what college really is. Is it the everybody in the world gets to go to college simply because that's what it's going to take to get a job? Or is it going to be, it's really for the people who want to go to college and want that degree and are academically minded, and then our trades and those everyday jobs that we don't really have enough of right now, and the price they can make a good living at, maybe more people will go into those trades and understand. And well, certainly, I think we found in COVID the value of those trade jobs over a
Mm.
college degree in many ways. And I think we're starting to see that.
Imagine if the NFL was kind of like the Olympics, where you'd be competing against global players. It wouldn't just be, the teams that are here in the States, but you're competing against everyone. And all of a sudden, you start to pay attention what they're doing in Europe or in Africa or Australia or Russia or China. They're training differently. It would literally raise the bar to what the NFL would be if it was a global participatory type
Certainly.
environment, right?
Absolutely.
Well, our educational system is that it's a global participatory environment. And I was just talking to a friend of mine. His girlfriend is getting her MBA in Beijing, and part of their MBA program is to run across the Gobi Desert.
I love it.
Yeah. So other places around the world are producing gladiators. I mean, literally, they're producing gladiators. And I'm wondering if if the States really even has that edge anymore, where the rest of the world is not just catching up, but exceeding. So how do you compete? Again, if the NFL was a global game, it would probably every year change because they have to compete. The university structure isn't changing that aggressively, is it?
You're absolutely right. The big change was how much online degree granting are we going to make? And Arizona State up the road, they went all in years ago. Arizona's gone in, as has every university, that you can get a degree online now. They're realizing they had to keep up. But you make a great point there. And one of the things we're starting to see in the college system in the United States, and I'm most familiar with Arizona, of course, because I work there, is how do we, what are the real press things that we need to do now, and we're putting a big focus on it, is integrating education so that a business major isn't just a business major, an art student isn't just an art student, or engineering student isn't just an engineering student. They take business classes, or they cross their disciplines, so that an engineering student with a phenomenal idea gets to understand and learn from marketing majors and business leaders how to take that to market and go. And it's good for those marketing majors to understand the thought process that went into these things they're building. And so if we can get these interdisciplinary studies going, you're starting to see this more and more in college, the degree you come out with will be much more valuable than it would have been 20 or 30 years ago, because now you have an understanding not just of the research and the design, but then also the manufacturing and the marketing and how to get it to market, how to have a business one sheet with a plan, and all these things that most people just, we know our major, right? That's what we know. And
Yeah.
then we have to go learn everything else. We're trying to prepare, colleges are now starting to try to prepare students to have those tools in their toolbox before they ever get off the university grounds.
Yeah, it's actually really refreshing when I see what you're doing, because most of the time when you see somebody that walks out of the NBA or the NFL, they go into something like the financial services. I'm going to go sell life insurance. I'm going to do this because my notoriety, kind of like baller, right? Baller, you're going to go do something where you use your notoriety to get people to get their investments to move forward. It seems like most people when they hit your level of sports, the adrenaline, the enthusiasm, the top of the game, when it's done, it's almost like life just peaked. But most entrepreneurs go through this. They go through that roller coaster ride where there's a peak, there's a valley, there's a peak and a valley. How do we go through this? Because I don't know about you. I mean, I got to sell a company to Google. I sold one to Yahoo. I had peaks. And man, I had the worst valleys ever, right? NFL's like you. You had so many peaks and I guess so many valleys. How do you pick yourself from that valley and go back to a peak over and over again?
Well, what the NFL teaches you is the process. That game's over. Forget it. Whatever happened on Sunday, I don't care if it's a win or a loss. You have till midnight to enjoy it or to just hate yourself over it. But you've got to get ready for the next one. The next one's coming in 7 days. And if I dwell on that one, I'll never make that one. And in the source of a game, it's usually the defensive backs, the quarterback, and the offensive line have to have that short memory of, I just gave up a sack, quarterback just got crushed. If I worry about that play, this next play, it's going to happen again. I've got to get into the next play. I liken it, and one of the things about life and coaching and mentoring, it's like driving a car. And life really is a lot like driving a car. You have a windshield in front of you, and you've got a rear view mirror. If you spend too much time looking at the windshield at the mountains far ahead on the road, you don't see what's immediately in front of you. And if you spend too much time looking in that rear view mirror, you have great anxiety about what's going to be going on in front of you, because you can't keep your eyes in both places. So that rear view mirror is great to peek in, learn a lesson, and go. I don't care where in life, and you brought up a great point, the peaks and valleys of an entrepreneur. Everybody goes through peaks and valleys. It's just you can't let the valleys define you, and you can't let the peaks last so long that they define you. One of the problems that we see in professional sports, and that's obviously what we're talking about most because that's my milieu, is We see people who let themselves be defined by that, who they are as a football player. Well, that's such a short part of your life. I got out of the league. I had a really long career compared to the average and compared to the vast majority of football players, but it ends at 36. What am I going to do? I can't be a football player for the next 50 years of my life. So, well, who am I going to be identified with now? And I think that all starts then with when you're in football or whatever it is you're doing, keep a friend group outside of that. Some people that ground you, some people that are not sequence of some sort, something that don't need anything from you. And then also understanding that prepare for the next thing. You can always, I'm a reader. I think most people, most of this group probably read a lot.
Yep.
Read something that's not about what you do. I could read football books all day, but that doesn't help me grow. So when I'm away from that football field, when I'm away from the friends and the fans, and I'm sitting there, I read something else. And I might, for me, it was broadcast television. I did that for 15 years and loved it. But at the end, I wanted to try something new. And so I got into this. It's prepare for the next thing, even while you're enjoying that ride that you're on now. And then it just becomes a series of, I can't wait for the next thing to happen, rather than I'm in a valley. Just want that next, I'm going to go there.
Well, I gotta admit, you do live that football life, even though you're not in that football life. I'm looking at your wall. Is there any way you could tell us about some of the pictures you have behind us, or behind you, what they are?
This house we moved into just a few years ago. We sold a home that we had for many, many years in town. We didn't move far. I'd never had an I love me room. So this is my I love me room. This is it. The picture right over my shoulder here is Steve Tasker and I every day and every game, pregame, we would head to the one end of the stadium, take a knee, like during warmups, and just talk. And sometimes we talk about what's going on in the field, but we just talk about life. Just let it wash over us while we're watching. And most of the things up there are just shots of me playing, people gave me, teams gave me, and we put them up. And we're in the process of selling the home now. We're actually in the process of moving out of this house right now, and they'll all get wrapped up and they won't be put back on my walls ever again. I don't like this room. I just
Really?
Oh no, that's not me. I'd rather have a fire and some leather chairs and my books around me than I would all this stuff. And I could show you,
Yeah,
I have a whole
what?
wall of game balls and trophies, and that's awful stuff. That's just not who I am, and I never has been. But this house had this office built into it, and that's another thing. Like a man cave or office, I don't want any of that in my life.
No, you just rather have pictures of you and the kids and the family.
Absolutely, that
Yeah.
and my books all around me, things I can read and enjoy.
Isn't it interesting how important our family becomes as we get older? And the problem is they all start to scatter and go somewhere else. You don't want them with you.
Oh, you say that's so true, because you go through this wanting to provide, and you set up this house for them, and you work your tail off for them, and you try to impart some things that you know are important, and you hope they get them, and all that happens really before the age of 5 or 10. Then they get more important with their friends and all that, and pretty soon they don't want to be around you, and they don't care what you think, and you're stupid and old. And you got to come to grips with that. So as much as I'd love
It's a
them all
cycle of
around
life.
me, it's not going to happen. I'll have to settle for pictures, like you said.
So we're a men's group. So Metal is a unapologetic, heart-centered group of incredible, accountable guys. That's what we are from around the world. And I need
Yeah.
to stress that. And I'm actually one of the reasons while I'm traveling for the next couple of years is I'm building our base around the world. And I'm focusing right now on the Middle East. So I'm in Dubai and I'm finding incredible guys to bring into the community. And what's interesting is, without a doubt, men are men. And the biggest problem with guys is they don't really share their emotions and feelings or problems with anyone other than maybe their one close friend. That's it.
Yeah.
And it kills them, actually. They don't know this, but it's killing them because they're not getting great advice. They're not. And I'm wondering, I mean, you're in a very interesting state, Arizona. I love Arizona. Matter of fact, we just did a big cowboy thing over at White Stallion Ranch. I'm not sure if
Oh
you've
yeah.
been there. You need to go there. You know about White Stallion?
I know where it's
It's
at. Yeah.
awesome. But what we realized is all these guys got together and we started showing commonality, and it felt like probably what football felt like to you, what, 15, 20 years ago. You had a group of guys to share all your experiences. You get older, you don't have that as much. How do
No,
you
and
go
most,
back? Oh, go ahead.
oh, I'm saying, and most men, they don't know they need it, and they don't think about it until it's too late, and things gnaw at them, and they kind of become closed in their own little world and away from. And you're absolutely right. You have to. I have one close friend that I share everything with, but I've really started having more friends around that I can talk to, that I can just
Right.
bounce things off of, and care about what they think, and they care about what I think, and not so much you know issues of the day, but personal stuff that we need help with, because everybody does. And we have to admit it.
Vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. We're all
Yeah.
vulnerable. We just don't like to show it.
It's interesting. It talks about how women, when they're together, women want to be liked, men want to be respected. And I'm
Yes.
wondering, where are you in your life? Have you gained all your respect and you want to be liked? Or have you been liked and you're looking for respect?
So there's two parts to this. One is men going in any situation worrying about the pecking order. It's how we were brought up. It's who men are. And it's the reason, if a bunch of men get together who are friends, 4, 5, 6, their wives are not friends. Sometimes they'll become friends, but it doesn't really happen that way. But if you get 5 women together, their husbands might all become very good friends. And the reason is the pecking order is established, it's done, and now we can just go have fun and be ourselves. Women don't have that innate threat of violence in a pecking order. So the way that they get liked or disliked, as you know, is they talk about each other behind each other's backs, and they search for alliances, and they search to get what they want that way, and that creates a lot of hard feelings. So unless a woman is already friends with someone, odds are they're not going to become friends with her husband's friends. It'll be the other way around. So that's one way of that pecking order. The other thing you talk about is, where am I in that thing? I was very lucky. Well, I don't believe in luck. My father imparted wisdom to me many years ago. He said, when you walk into a room, most people will be wondering what everybody in the room is thinking about them. What they have to remember is everybody in that room is wondering what you think about them.
Right.
And once that's a really empowering thing, I don't care what people think about me. I've stopped caring, and I really had to learn that. In that, is it respect? No, I'm not a buffoon. I'm not going out of my way, but I have to ultimately remember that someone's respect of me is not something I'm craving. Someone's liking me is not something I'm craving. I always put my best foot forward and seek to be a good human being, and that leads to people liking you and respecting you. But that's not my goal. My goal, I don't care. I'm going to
Right.
do what I have to do and need to do, and I'm not going to worry about people's emotions and what their thoughts of me are. I will worry what
I,
their rights are, and am I hurting them, and am I being rude? I won't do those things. But the respect of and all that, I'm well past that, and I think I was well past that even when I got into the NFL.
that's awesome. Hey guys, if you guys have any questions, please pop it up inside the chat and
Yeah.
join the conversation. So Glenn, you said something that I connected with right away, because I always tell myself I am not lucky because of what I have in life. It's because I work super hard to get it. And I almost feel like luck doesn't, when we say I'm lucky, it almost forces us not to really think about what it took to achieve what we have, good or bad, by the way, because bad luck is just not working hard enough to get what you need. And good luck, you get what you achieve. Why do you feel like you don't believe in luck? Why not? What's the issue there?
Well, the minute you believe in luck, you don't take blame, and therefore you can't take responsibility. You don't get to claim that you were so great at something if you believe in luck. Well, I was lucky that you were great at it. And then you don't
Right.
have to worry about being to blame. Well, it's not my fault. I was just unlucky. Well, I'm a personal responsibility guy. I believe in responsibility, and responsibility gives you freedom, and along with the discipline, gives you a lot of freedom when you take responsibility. And I don't believe in luck because there's something, and this goes years back. It vocalized, or it put into words what I've always felt. Is Marv Levy said, I don't believe in luck. And Marv Levy was my coach of the Buffalo Bills. He said, how come bad teams are never lucky? And it's true. How can a team be so bad over time and never at least have it go his way one time? Go their way one time, it never happens. It's because they haven't prepared enough. They haven't worked hard enough. They haven't done the things that they need to do. And so rather than taking any sort of responsibility and ownership, they foist blame off on luck. Well, I don't believe in that. I take ownership. I'm an ownership guy.
Yeah.
Or in football, my football team, they like to call it own your, your shit.
Own your shit. I get
Own
it.
your shit.
Hey, Matt, unmute yourself, Matt. And since you're all done with dinner, Matt, I've been watching whatever you've been eating.
Yeah, what
Matt,
was that?
What was that?
That was my faux pas for the week. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It's like chips with cheddar cheese and Caesar dressing on top of it.
Right.
Damn. Dude, Matt, I just want to tell you, I'm hoping COVID goes away just so you can get that beard to go away. I'm just saying, I know that's a COVID beard. My God, at the extreme. But Matt, what's your question, buddy?
So it's a two-part question, but it's related. Do you think that the NFL Players Association represented your best interests throughout your career? And how do you counsel young players on how to prepare for the fact that they're going to be done playing not too long after they start playing?
That's both great questions. The NFLPA, for the most part, had the interest of the players as a whole. They had our interest, but they do not have the interest of the players who aren't in the league yet, and they do not have the interest of anybody that's already played and done. And no union anywhere in the world does. But the one thing the NFLPA did very well, other than articulating to our face that they don't represent retired players, which they should never have done. That was a bad visual. They've actually gone back several times and given the older players more money. They've negotiated it into the new contracts. Hey, the older guys need more money. No other union in the world has done anything like that. And so while I'm not a union person per se, I'm more just a right to work person. I think that overall they've done a really good job with our interests. We just don't have power. Football players don't have power because the two-part question is when it's going to be over faster. The average player, if they plays about 2.8 to 3.2 years. But that's very misleading because if you take guys like me out that played more than 10, the average actually drops to less than 1 year. So it doesn't last and most people, if I were to show you some of my pictures on my other wall, like the teams, I could show you that picture taken in September and another picture taken at the Super Bowl, and about half those guys would be gone. You get guys coming out like a revolving door all season. Your core, the ones the fans see, okay, I know a few of my stars and my starters, but there's a constant core and cast of characters coming in and out of the doors around you all the time. And so guys just don't make it. Second part, so I hope I answered the first part about the PA. I think they've done as good a job as they can. There's just not much power there. And then the second part is I constantly stress, and earlier I was talking about a little bit, is have a friendship group outside of the game of football to keep you grounded as a human so that you're not out spending money on Lamborghinis and whatever you want. I don't care how much money you make, It's going to come to an end, and it's going to be an abrupt end usually. Very few of us, and I was blessed, very few of us get to choose, I'm retiring. Most guys they get told they're not good enough anymore. That's one. And two, I say you have to prepare. I deal with a lot of the college kids going to the NFL, and I say you have to prepare for life after football. One, do not live to your salary. Set a budget that's realistic and that you'll be living when you retire. I actually live better in retirement in many ways than I did as a player. My teammates used to laugh at me. My wife wondered about me. I lived in a $200 a month apartment. Drove a pickup truck. I didn't own a suit. I owned one coat and a snap-on tie. I just was not going to spend money on things that were ephemeral. I was not going to spend money on those things. My agent laughed when he signed me. He said, Glenn, you're the only person I've ever known that said he wants to play 3 years by a condo on the beach and surf the rest of his life. Most of them talk about long careers. And I said, so I tell kids, prepare for that next phase in life. Budget money as if you're still a college student. You can loosen the purse strings later in your career when you've got 6-7 years in a hefty bank sum. And then you have to tell these guys that they have to prepare every year like it's every game. Some guys get very comfortable. I don't care where they're at on that roster. If they make it through the year, they think, I'll be back next year. You got to make the team again next year. I don't care who you are, because they're going to bring in a crop of players to take your job. And if they find one that can do the job at 200,000, or now the minimum, 252 a year, or 300 grand a year, and you're costing 3 million, it's a business decision. You're gone. And so you have to prepare. I tell them, so to be succinct, friend group outside, budget like you're a college player, and you have to prepare every year to make the team again and again and again. And that's what generally, with guys that are in a long time like me, that's what gets us to retire. We just don't want to do that again. We don't want to go back to another camp. We don't want to have that fight. We don't want to prepare. We just don't. We're done. We're done. And that's what it was for me. I just knew after that 12th season.
Yeah.
I was done.
Thank you for that. I actually represented NFL player that had 2 rings.
Yeah.
And didn't have the got the training on how to be a great player, but didn't get the training on how to plan for what's going to happen after the career is done.
Yeah. And
that's really, I think, important. And that crosses a lot of lines, like musicians that hit it, but you clearly have and you convey to your the people that you're working with to plan, and that's important.
Yeah, and if they take, most football players do learn, sometimes too late, that they take the lessons they learned at being great in football, they cross every boundary. They can be great. They can succeed other places if they just take those lessons. And it's, hey, I've got to prepare. I've got to make a plan for the week, and then from the week to the month to the year. You have to have those processes in place. You know how to do it, but all of a sudden you think, because I'm going to be in banking, or I'm going to be in real estate, it's a different game. It's still the same game. It comes with preparation and hard work, and understanding there's going to be setbacks and peaks and valleys, and you can't think you know all about real estate if you've never done it before. Just like you wouldn't expect some guy to come in your locker room and tell you all about your team if he's never done it.
Glenn, when do you feel like you were doing something that mattered? Did football make you feel like you mattered?
No. I used to have that talk with guys all the time on the team. They'd talk about Michael Jordan. Oh, he's the most famous person in the world. Or I'd say, we can go to the mall right now and I can bring Michael Jordan here. And at that time, Britney Spears was big or whatever. So we'll bring Britney in and we'll see what happens. That whole mall would be on Britney Spears. They wouldn't know who Michael was. So athletes tend to really overestimate their worldwide reach. There's a few that transcend. Michael has been one. Muhammad Ali comes to mind. He's the one that truly transcended the sport. But in reality, what we do doesn't matter as a football player. There's no great lesson there for humanity. We're an entertainment business, and that's what we do. What matters, and I don't really know if there's any job out there that truly matters other than, are you a good parent, father, or men? Are we good fathers? Are we good friends to our friends? Are we reliable? And do we leave a legacy that lives on past us, not of some grand scheme that we did making money in real estate or football, but did we leave better people around us when we left?
It's legacy.
Yeah.
It's legacy. Again, 55 this year. I know I'm reinforcing that over and over again because I accepted it. I'm actually happy. I feel good about it. But it is a different phase in life. We're called old to a lot of people, even though we don't feel that. But what is that responsibility now, being that older Gen Xer? It's a different responsibility now, because you can't show you're ever lazy or a slacker. You can't show you're ever that. So how do you keep your ass in shape right now? How do you make sure you never are old? What do you do?
Well, I get up early. I tend to wake up at 4:30 every morning, no matter what time I go to bed. So tonight, this will be over. I'll probably decompress and read. I'll get myself 5 hours sleep. And so I get up early. I love my mornings. That's when everything is productive. My mind is spinning. I can get things done. I get most of my work for my job at the university done before actually I'm ever in the office. But I wake up. I I try to stay away from news and stuff first thing in the morning. I want to get to just a few things I want to read, and then I go to the gym. And right now that just means riding a bike because I've had an ankle replacement in this neck. I can't do a lot for the next month or so, but then it'll be back to lifting and or some sort of body weight interval. I really several years back, I had, after football had ended, I was doing well in broadcast. I had packed on a few pounds I didn't want on me. Not good muscle, but just a little more fat than I liked to carry. And I saw a picture of my dad on board ship in the South Pacific during World War II, and these guys were all ripped. And I thought, these guys were ripped on. They were young and they were ripped, but there's no fat people in that picture. There's no overweight people. What were they doing? It was like they did calisthenics and they ate real food. So I got rid of all the crap in my diet, the processed garbage, and I started doing push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, bodyweight squats, jumping, all the things that we did as kids. Amazing. Fat ripped right off my body. In 3 months, I think I dropped 50-something pounds of fat. I had veins, I had abs. My wife said, "You look gross." I hate that. I was like, God, I did all this for nothing. Still not getting anywhere with her. But let's face facts. That's what. So to me, it's movement. I watch what I eat. And when I say watch what I eat, I still enjoy myself. I love all the stuff I eat. I just got rid of the crap, the stuff that you feel bad after you eat it. Why did I eat that? Why did I want that in the moment? And then and then I've gotten to where I love. When I played, I didn't like lifting. I didn't like exercise. I loved the game, but I didn't like all the BS that trying to get ready. As far as the physical part. But now I just love the process of getting in the gym and lifting, or going down to the park and doing pull-ups and sit-ups and push-ups, or in my hotel room when I'm on the road. I just do it there. I just love that. It gives me a good feeling. I get the endorphins roll. I feel good afterward. That makes me want, and I love taking walks. That's great for my mind. A great walk is one of the best things you can do for your mind. You just tend to think about the great stuff. So all those, it's kind of that whole body, whole mind thing that I think you're as old as you.
Life is great.
Life is great.
Life is great.
It should
I
be the
love it. I love
alternative,
hearing
doesn't
you
it?
say that. It's God, no kidding. Hey, Nino, are you in Brazil right now? Where are you, Nino?
Yeah, I'm in Brazil.
Brazil? Hey, do the bang, buddy. What's going on? You have a question for Glenn.
Oh, I was saying that I disagree with you, Glenn, when you said there is no. I think you're leaving like a great legacy for all of us. Since you when you play and you're struggling to win, you're sending the word like a great message. That you're fighting, to win this game and entertaining the people who are cheering up for you. So yeah, I think you're doing very well there.
Great.
Well, thank you. And
Sure.
it's one of those things that when you're doing it, you're so engrossed in it, you forget those things. You're so engrossed in the moment of trying to people. We had the greatest comeback in NFL history. We still have it. It still holds. What were you thinking? Were you thinking this was over? We're just thinking of the next play. I got the next play to think about. It's those processes that we talked about earlier that I never thought about it the way you just put it, that other people get inspired by the fact that we were doing these things, because I was just thinking of the next play and what was the next thing I had to do to do it right and not lose my job. And so I think you're probably right, because I love inspirational stories. I love when I watch something of true overcoming. I'd say you're right. Fans feel that way. I just never felt like it was important. I felt like I was having fun, getting paid, and doing my job. So
you're a spectacle, meaning people are going to focus on you, period. And you can't change that. So I want to throw some numbers around real quick. And I'm kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation. When you look at each generation, so our grandparents' generation was the silent generation, our parents' generation were the baby boomers, we're Gen X and the millennials. If you look at how much wealth they had at the age of 30, okay, so at the age of 30, the silent generation had 44% of the country's wealth, 44% at the age of 30. Our parents' generation had 42% of the country's wealth at the age of 30. Our generation had 38% of the country's wealth at the age of 30. Millennials, 7%.
Right.
7. They don't own anything. They really don't. Now, that doesn't just mean they don't own assets. They don't own associations. They don't own their life in some respects. So we're looking at a radically different generation being millennials, but they're the largest buying group, largest voting group. They're literally the largest group, period. They are going to define our future, not just their own. So if I asked the question earlier, when did your life matter? I think our life matters more now than ever. And that is, how can we make millennials the best generation ever?
I think you're right. And that goes back to what's that legacy? Raising good children. My children are millennials. The timeline you had was almost correct in that, yes, I'm a Gen X, but my parents are silent generation. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So all of my brothers and sisters are baby boomers. But you're right. It's, can we, and that's why I love coaching. I love helping these kids right now, these millennials, understand and try to guide them or give them some tools that help them become better humans and better, more productive people. And you know, there's this thing of, I still tell my football players this all the time, you need to be a selfish player. And they'll be like, Coach, I've never been told that. Why do you? I said, because I want you only to worry about your job. I want you to be only doing your job. Don't try to do his job, because that's where huge mistakes come. If you're in a business atmosphere, you have to worry about your job. And it's not selfish at all to worry about your job. That's what you should be doing. That's your job to do. So we have to understand when we talk to kids sometimes is how can we make it in a word for them that they start to understand, they become better humans because of it, they become more successful because of it, because in reality, just creating good humans doesn't create success, it creates good humans. But we have to give them those tools that allow them to understand the processes and the goals. And I, you know, talk about lessons learned over life. So some of the people have talked about it. I talked about it a little bit. I didn't play football in high school. When I went out to that junior college and I talked to that O-line coach about, I wanted to get a college scholarship. He said, so you want to get a college scholarship and you never played football? He goes, why not the NFL? And I thought, this guy's making fun of me. Why is he doing that? He goes, no, he goes, you have to understand, if you're going to have a dream, and then we're going to put goals in place that are a process. He went through it with me that way. And so he started me off like, hey, you know, I want you to make sure you wake up and make your bed, or make sure you brush your teeth. And every day he added to it. And sure enough, most of them I was already doing. He said, you see, you've already started. You already have all these goals. You think that you're starting fresh as a football player. You're not. And so then it was the next step of, well, okay, wow, I had that list. I get that little dopamine hit of checking it off, you know. It's then I started to learn, okay, well, I have to go to class and I have to get my training in. I have to be at the training to get taped. I have to be at the meeting. I have to go out to practice. I have to practice every rep with a mindset that the rep is important. It's not a mindless exercise. I'm not sitting out there going and repping a play just to rep a play. I'm going out there to learn how to make the best play possible.
Right, right.
And that process is, so you have the dream. He taught me that, and then he taught me the goals and the processes to the goals. And so you really have a whole list of goals to get to the dream. And it was very powerful, and that we have to have kids understand that that dream is not an entitlement, but the dream is possible if you'll understand the process. And you know, earlier you talked about this immediate gratification. I got to have it now, or I'm entitled. Kids that are armed with the proper weapons of goal setting and processes and all the other things we've talked about tonight, they do well. They go out, and whether it be football, some do well and some don't make it. But then you look, and I've got ex-players that are doing great things wherever they've chosen. One is in the podcast space, one is doing mortgage brokerage, and one is doing like insurance, something or other. they've just taken those things they've learned to the next level, and they're excelling in private, whatever they're doing now outside the world of sport. Sport in general teaches us that process and goal setting and how it can be so important. And the kids didn't need it more than ever, and they're getting less and less of it because parents today think their kids should specialize in one sport, and too many parents are too selfish with their time. Well, that takes too much time to take them to the ballpark and do these things. It's the time where they learn the most. We've got to do
Right.
those things.
Well, Glenn, I really appreciate you just hanging out with us. Two more quick questions. First, your favorite animal is what?
Whoa, a dog. I don't know. A dog.
No, that's
Yes.
okay.
I
What
love
are
a
what
dog.
are what are three adjectives that describe a dog?
Loyal,
Mhm.
emotional,
Mhm.
soft.
So that's you. You
That's
just
me.
described you.
There you go.
You are a dog. And then the last question is, I spent a lot of time with over 20,000 people I've interviewed. And one interview always kind of blew my mind when I sat with Elon Musk. And he said he asked himself three questions when he does almost anything when it comes to starting a business or going after challenge. And first, he asked, do I know myself right now? Do I know who I am right now to take on that challenge? Okay. So, do you know who you are right now? Are you pretty conscious of who you are?
Pretty conscious. Yeah.
Got it. Next question is, what is my current superpower? What superpower do I possess right now that either I've had all my life or I've somehow matured at this point? What is your superpower?
Emotional intelligence.
Okay, so just IQ, just great EQ, great EQ. And last is, what is your current enemy? What are you battling that you need to conquer?
A loss of focus. I
Oh,
have so many things that I want to do in my life, and I've been focused my whole life. I've kind of gotten into this thing like, I want to go do that. I want to do that. I want to, oh, that's a cool trail. I want to go take that trail out through the desert. But I love surfing, so I want to keep surfing. I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu for 10 years. I want to keep doing that. That loss of focus, it's like, and that's my biggest enemy is I have to maintain my processes and my goals in order to things I want and not get lost in the weeds as much as I do recently because I'm growing a little complacent. I'm having some fun. I'm
I
enjoying
get it.
life.
That's awesome. Right there is where I'm going to end that. I'm going to end the recording right